Hello and welcome to the Uni podcast.
On today's episode, we'll be talking about the pursuit of happiness.
So, I think when we mention the pursuit of happiness, when we use the word pursuit, then we've started off on the wrong foot
Yeah,
because the word pursuit means inherently that you don't have something and you're chasing it. So, I don't know how helpful that statement is in achieving anything, whether
mhm.
it's happiness or anything else.
I think I would agree, kind of, in the sense that, especially a thing like happiness, right? You can pursue a lot of different things. You can pursue a career, you can pursue a hobby, you can pursue
Yeah.
something you like. But a thing like happiness is something that is, it it's it's a culmination of a lot of other things, right? So you can't really straight up go and say I want to pursue happiness, in my opinion, too. But more of why I kind of chose this as the name of the topic is because
Yeah.
growing up, one of my favorite movies was this film by featuring Will Smith. So it's called the movie is titled The Pursuit of Happiness, right? So it's actually based on a true story of this person, Chris Gardner, who um, who started up really poor, and he worked his way up and kind of in a way became happier by doing things he loved, which is not really, he wasn't really trying to become happy, right? In a sense, but he was just trying to do things to get out of his situation, which coincidentally made him happier as well, if that makes sense.
But I don't know how relevant one person's story is to everyone else because I think happiness is a very subjective thing, and I don't know how well that one story can be extrapolated because also a lot of times this picture or this ideal way of happiness is sold to us in the mainstream culture,
Yeah.
and I think that might be one of the ways of just pushing that narrative to the public.
Yep. And I think we definitely need to cover this aspect also, right? Like how a lot of things are influencing the way we think about basic emotions and basic things such as happiness. So I
Yeah.
think before we go into more depth,
Yeah.
what is happiness to you?
To me, happiness is peace from the mind. When people say peace of mind, I prefer to say peace from the mind because this is actually a quote from somewhere else. But peace from the mind means those moments where you're not thinking anything. You watch a beautiful sunrise, or you're in the hills in Bali or wherever, like you're on Mount Batur and you went to see the sunrise, for example, then the feeling that you get of just pure joy
Mm-hmm.
and just forgetting all worries and tensions of life. Like you're there 100% in the moment. And I think that is happiness to me. That is just peace from any other thing. I'm just happy. I'm just there. I think that is happiness to me.
So this, I guess to add on, would you think that being in a state of happiness doesn't really involve or doesn't really necessarily mean that you need to be around people or you need to be with a bunch of people who make you happy, or you are in a surrounding that's happy, or is it just you yourself and your environment and what you can do to make yourself happy?
I think at the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, I think it's all in your head. So, like Robin Williams said, I'd rather be alone than in a relationship where I feel alone. So, that can be extrapolated to friendship or any other situation. I'd rather be alone than be with people who make me feel alone. So, yeah, I think to me, it doesn't really depend on the people as much. But then there's like two types of happiness in my mind. One is the momentary happiness versus the long-term happiness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like the dictionary so-called definition of happiness
Yeah.
is, they say it's an emotional state of state characterized by feelings of joy, satisfaction, contentment, and fulfillment, right? But I guess to an extent, it really depends from person to person. And the other thing that you just mentioned, that happiness is not really the same as you smiling or being or laughing on a particular day
Yeah.
and with a particular group of people or by yourself. It's something that builds up, and it's kind of an overall state of mind, right? So it's not really in you can always say that I'm in the moment, I'm happy in the moment, I'm happy right now, but that doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're always happy. And I
Hmm.
think being always happy or is more important than just smiling or laughing when you're in front of people.
Yeah. True. What is your notion of happiness then?
I think happiness is okay. So right now, especially, right, like a lot of us, including myself, I'm often quite, not really annoyed, but not pleased would be the word. Not pleased with things happening around me, right? So then I would say that isn't really an ideal thing. So when I mean happiness, I would want to be not really surrounded by, but I would want to be in a state of mind where I'm okay with things how they are, and I've kind of made peace with it in a sense,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
exactly.
still try to do my own thing, right? If that makes sense, right? So because it doesn't, so in my opinion, like happiness doesn't really depend, or it doesn't really
True.
matter. Right now, you can be at your worst, at the worst of times.
Yeah.
Everybody around you, and including yourself, you're kind of suffering, or you're
Exactly,
in a
exactly.
shitty situation, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you can
yeah.
still be happy,
Yeah.
and that is what matters to me.
Exactly. I mean, I think, people in Syria, for
Yeah,
example, or people in, I don't know about North Korea actually, but people in Syria or war-torn countries, they're definitely happy. Like a lot of them are happy, I'm pretty sure. And people in, the richest, the most fanciest bungalows can be unhappy.
yeah,
So I don't think the situation really matters a lot. I mean, there was a study that said that, this is from Jordan Peterson, that if you earn above $60,000 a year, then your happiness doesn't depend on money.
right. Yeah, and I think this is
So yeah,
again a very common concept, right? A lot of people, and a lot of studies have also shown this, but richer people tend to be unhappier. Okay, there's not a generalization, but
yeah, yeah,
it is kind of showing that you don't have to be rich in order to be happy or
true,
in order to be content.
true.
Yeah. And with regards to what you just mentioned on Syria and
Yeah,
countries, war-torn countries where you might think that people are generally unhappy with how things are going or with life. Um but they can still be happy, right? And they are definitely, some of them could very well be happier than people around
they
us,
are
people
definitely,
here,
they are definitely,
for sure.
yeah,
But do you think that, the surroundings and your environment does play an effect? Because there are a lot of studies that say that, there's this thing called the happiness index, if you've heard of it. So they
Finland,
Yeah, so what they do is they have six parameters, or six or seven
yeah,
parameters, and based on that they kind of publish in a yearly report saying that, oh, Norway is happier,
mm,
Denmark is happy,
yeah.
Denmark is probably the happiest, and stuff like that. So do you think, your environment, by environment I mean like the natural surroundings, right? So your the nature aspect of it. Do you think that plays a role in happiness?
I mean, they have to define, how have they defined happiness is my first question, because I don't know how they've defined it. But I think, yes, happiness does, the environment does play a role, because I think how happy you are is very reflective of your mindset, and your mindset is influenced by the environment. So I wouldn't say it's more of a country thing. Maybe in a country people are more positive, people are more, look at the brighter side of things. That could be one factor. need to empower people to believe in themselves, to believe that there's good in the world. That can be regardless of education or financial success. I don't think these are good parameters to judge happiness levels, which I think that study measures.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I guess, any study to an extent has to measure quantifiable
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the factors that they have listed, and things like governance and cultural diversity is just a number, right? So they see things like, oh, there's a 60 to 40% ratio of men and women in the workforce or something like that, and then they say that, okay, this kind of indicates that
Yeah.
people are happier,
Yeah.
which, yeah, wouldn't really be the case. But I would say that, in my opinion, I do think environment, by environment I don't mean like people around you, right? But I mean environment itself plays a
I
factor.
think nature plays a
Yeah,
factor.
nature. So because, what I think, this is more of like a personal experience, right? I find that countries or places where um there's a good variation and of climate, for
Mm.
example, and
Okay.
which is, it could be a place which is sunny,
Okay.
bright, because things like that I feel kind of make a difference. Because um if you're in a place that is continuously gloomy,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a lot of people say that, although Canada is probably one of the best places to be,
It's
winters
so
in
cold.
Canada can be really, really
Yeah. Yeah.
irritating
Yeah.
in a sense.
No, I mean, that is why I would say that a lot of physical things actually influence happiness a lot, in my opinion. Vitamin D, how much sunlight you're getting, physical activity levels. And that is why I think farmers are actually quite happy.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not using modern technology as much. So
Yeah.
I think being physically active, getting sunlight, like these are things that, yeah, definitely
That
influence
seem
happiness
basic, and
levels.
that seem, not really high tech, but the most basic of things definitely bring you a lot of happiness, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yep,
definitely.
for sure. And another like topic that subtopic that I would want to, ask you and get your opinion is, because I do certainly associate happiness to having a drive or a passion or an end goal, right? So if you're kind of, I would say, in my opinion, that, if you're aimlessly wandering around, you know and trying to figure out stuff, I might not be as happy as I could be, or I am, compared to when I, know that this is something I want to achieve, or this is something that I really want to do.
So you get happiness from doing things.
Not really, but I would say that having a, not a vision but a drive. Like, I don't really know how else to put it. What do you think of this? Do you think, it makes sense, or what is your opinion?
I would have, a few years ago, I would have said that, that is definitely what I think. Like, I always want to solve challenging problems and keep going. And yeah, but at the same time, I don't think that is necessary to be happy, because happiness is all in your head, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And whenever you put this condition
Mm-hmm.
over anything,
Mm-hmm.
then I think it's much harder to achieve it. And then it's always a dependent function,
Right.
right? Like your happiness is now a dependent function of your drive, or how much progress you've made on that particular project, or how much progress you've made in the gym, which are good things. But when you make happiness a function of that, I think you're a slave to the progress. And then I wouldn't want to be a slave to an external factor,
Okay.
which I know you would say that, it's not an external factor.
Yeah. No, but no. I think my kind of whole point is on the kind of leaning towards, my whole, like, personally, what I feel is, I'd rather be busy and, have a lot of things to do, have a lot of things on my plate,
Yeah.
than a lack of it. because growing up, one of the things that my mom and my parents brought me up, like, as a saying, right, is this whole saying that an idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? So the way I relate to it, is that, because as a person, it's not like, I try to be make myself busy so that I forget about all the other things and happening in life, and just push things
Yeah.
aside.
Yeah.
But I find, like, contentment as a word, right? A lot of people associate happiness to
Mm.
contentment.
Yeah.
I feel content when I do things. So it doesn't necessarily have to succeed also, right? So it can be it doesn't have to be a project also. Just things like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
I'm cycling around. I take initiative to do something and do it. Whether or not it works is secondary. So that defines success, but not really happiness, right? But for me, happiness is just being able to do stuff and
Okay.
keep doing stuff.
What if tomorrow you're paralyzed? Will you stop being happy?
That's a good question.
In the
Uh,
legs, for example.
I could still do stuff, but
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
What if your whole body is
Okay,
paralyzed?
then
Only
probably
your
not.
mind is active.
The-
Can you still be happy?
Personally, I can't. Yeah.
You definitely can.
I think it's possible, but sitting here right now and thinking about it, it would be a challenge. But and I think, because for me, I'm not saying that I'm all about, like, materialistic things, right? Because, okay, maybe a bit, but um, I need to be able to do stuff. I need to be able to try things, do new things,
Yeah, yeah.
simple things. Because as a person, I've always grown up. I love interaction. So small things like that build up.
Do you think Stephen Hawking was happy?
He probably was, I
Yeah.
guess. Has
So
he has he said that? Has he answered this question?
I don't know. But the thing is, once you're in that situation, you will find ways to make yourself happy.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let me look up. Was Stephen Hawking happy?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, but he probably was. He was successful for sure, but that's
I
why,
mean,
right? So that's the
he
this.
was doing a lot of things.
He was doing a lot of things. He was successful as well,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah. I think that's the difference. In my opinion, right? For personally, I don't necessarily have to be successful to be happy
I know, I know.
in all of the things I
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely want to be
But you want to
successful.
do things.
I want to do things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between want and need. Like, can you sit by yourself and not do anything and just be and be happy? That is something interesting, right?
Yep.
And I think this question goes out to everyone who's watching as well. Can you just sit still, think nothing, and be happy?
That's a good one. Yeah. And okay, so I think now I would also want to touch on, initially when we started this episode, you did say that um modern culture or media is really changing people's perception and the way they measure or think about
Yeah,
happiness.
yeah.
So, what I would want to ask is, how much does seeing others be happy on platforms like Instagram or
Yeah,
anything else
yeah.
influence the way you think or the way you measure happiness?
I wish I could say that it doesn't affect me, but it does. It affects everyone
Yeah.
because, Homo sapiens are social creatures and we will always compare ourselves to others. It's it's just human nature. It's animal nature. Because in the jungle, in the wildlife, the most competitive, the strongest animals survive, and that's what we've been hardwired to do. So I think it's not possible unless you ignore it, or unless you're on a level of detachment almost that you don't really care. I think it's tough to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a person like Sebastian Vettel,
He does seem happy. Yeah.
he definitely is happy, from
I mean,
my,
we wouldn't
yeah, we
know.
wouldn't really
You
know.
never know.
But I would say, him not being on social media is like kind of an example.
Yeah, yeah,
Or because you still get to see stuff he does, right? Because others take pictures of it and
yeah,
they post it.
yeah.
But he doesn't necessarily have to be, for him, according to him, his whole take is that I don't have to be the one posting the highlights of my life to make people think that I'm happy
Yeah.
or to show people that you can be happy.
No, the thing is, you're comparing your average daily moments, like you just woke up and went to take a shit, and you're looking at highlights of everyone's life.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's pretty messed up because you're comparing your regular ass day or something really regular like brushing your teeth with someone surfing in South Africa. Like, obviously, it's. And because there are so many people, there are many posts like that.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I think the most important thing in this whole sense would be to firstly understand completely understand that anything posted on social media which looks good is definitely one of the highlights, but it doesn't necessarily indicate
yeah.
it's not really something that shows that, oh, this person is happy. So that is again, moving to the thing, is smiling or laughing the same as being happy, right? So it's more of a momentary thing. So when you post something on social media, that's my take on it. I am quite not very active, but I am quite active. I do, post once in a while. And definitely, when I do post something, it's a good day at the beach or a good day out with friends.
Exactly. You're
But
contributing.
yeah, I'm a part of the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the way I see it is this. As long as, because I've tried to make peace with this, and I have made peace with this. Like, I can strongly say that, when I look at a friend or somebody I know having a good moment, and even say if I'm having a bad day, right? A bad day, things aren't really going my way. I know, and I don't feel sad or jealous or FOMO that I wasn't there or I wasn't part of that moment, but more of the fact that this is
Yeah.
the highlight of their particular day,
Yeah, yeah. True.
and I can still be happy. I'm happy looking at my friends being happy as well. Like, that's
Definitely.
that's a
Yeah,
way
yeah.
of looking at it
Exactly,
also.
exactly. And I think to me, a similar thing was like looking at others winning competitions or getting funding or other students succeeding, like achieving things that I want to achieve. I think one way of thinking about it, which helped me a lot, is that, I'm just seeing the end result. For sure, they've spent hours and hours and weeks and years working on something, so they definitely deserve it.
Yep.
And I am happy for them actually.
Yeah.
Once I think of the hard work that they've put in, I actually root for them instead of feeling like I should defeat them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And this is probably the most important attitude to have,
Yeah.
right? When you're
Yeah.
looking at anything on social media.
Yeah.
So I guess to end off, the golden question would be, are you happy?
I mean, you could answer that first.
Okay. I think the honest answer would be, to an extent, I am happy.
Well, that is a very diplomatic answer.
It's a very ish. I would say I am happy. I am quite bummed that a lot of things haven't been going the way I thought it would.
Yeah.
But then again, I try, and I definitely try this always with any context, that I don't really want to expect things to happen
Hmm.
in any way,
Hmm.
because, like, yeah, when you put that sort of expectation on it, you feel
Yeah.
shittier when it doesn't go that way. So I do try this, but I would say, right now, am I happy? Yes. Could I be happier? Maybe. And now the lights go off again.
You could be happier, less happy. I think that way of thinking is
Is
defeating you anyways. You're happy, that's it.
Yeah.
And
No full stop commas, but
yeah, and it's
yeah.
not a sliding scale. I think to a certain extent, happiness is a choice, in my opinion. And I would say, yes, I do choose to be happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In whatever is happening, I think I'm pretty privileged in everything. So there's
I agree.
really nothing to complain about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, whatever happens, I am pretty happy and I will choose to be happy.
You will.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree, and that is how I try to be. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. It does get to you, like
Yeah,
that is
definitely,
the honest
definitely.
like human thing. I can't just, and none of us can just say that we are always
No, no,
happy
not
in
always.
a sense,
But
right?
I guess we can always
Try to be
choose
and make an effort.
whenever we get the opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like you said, not being dependent on surroundings or people is the most important thing, especially in a situation like right now, right?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who are kind of holed in their apartment room, hostel room, dorm, whatever, who are still quite happy, who are still having that sort of
Yeah.
peace of mind or peace in mind, like you said,
Peace from mind.
peace from mind.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who don't even have that.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess this is a good way to
To
end off.
end our podcast, to choosing to be happy.
Yep.
Thank you.
Cheers.